Hello, everybody. Tim W. Rago here, Games, Movies, and Vlogs. How the hell is everybody? Welcome to the final part of Kong 05, after getting through this long-ass movie. Here once again, with a fellow creature-obsessed fanatic and Instagram follower.
How's it going, guys? Jurassic World Monsterverse here. Welcome back to another review. Welcome to this video. Really hope you enjoy it. So sit back and enjoy.
Alright, so we're at we now come to the final part of Kong 05, where Kong is in New York City. Kong comes to the Big Apple of 1933, except it's no longer looking like the Great Depression. Every available person that can afford a business suit just comes right up to the theater just to see Kong on stage, looking like he is stoned and confused.
He looks so out of it. Like I said, while we were watching him, all chained up and on stage, you're meant to feel really bad for him. In fact, you're meant to feel awful for him because he just looks so miserable. But you can't help the fact that he looks stoned.
He does. He really does look like he's stoned.
They must have sedated him. They must have sedated him pretty well.
They must have used a lot more chloroform on him because, seriously, he does look so calm. I wouldn't even call it calm. He just looks, like you said, very sedated through most of the...
out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And I just love, how the way, I was telling you, the inside of the theater and how the show goes, it's pretty much half the shit that goes on here in Las Vegas, half the big shows that go on here in Vegas. And actually, Peter Jackson said in an interview that the show is basically, he said, Vegas-style show. So he wasn't wrong. Peter Jackson himself said it was kind of meant to look that way.
He wasn't too far off at all.
Yeah, being a Vegas local, everybody, that's pretty much what a Vegas show looks like when you go to one of the big ones. And it's so crazy that one thing that Peter Jackson does, not only has he made a shitload of references already through this movie, he decides to throw in the original Sacrifice from 1933 by making it a stage performance, but he still keeps the music and still has the original characters, except it's all stage actors. He just does it in a way where it's what it is, but it's a stage performance kind of thing.
Yeah, and the thing is
and you said that's your highlight of this part is the fact that they reference that.
Oh yeah, no, I said that, but I wanted to say as well was I've seen from clips of it on sites like YouTube and other places, video platforms like that, I've seen some comments say that they don't really take it to heart, if you know what I mean. They say things like it's making fun of the 1933 classic, and I'm like, no, this is a tribute. This is what Contribution looks like.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I wouldn't really think it's making fun of the 1933 movie. I mean, if Peter Jackson was making fun of the 1933 movie, this movie would not be 3 hours long. This movie would only be an hour and a half. It wouldn't be this. It wouldn't be this well detailed. It wouldn't be this serious in tone. It wouldn't be this well thought out. No, if Peter Jackson was parodying the original movie, it wouldn't be this good. It would not. The movie itself as a whole would not be this good.
Oh no, I completely agree, and I fully, absolutely agree with that. And like you said, if Peter Jackson was given a chance to direct this with him, if he wasn't a huge fan of the original King Kong, which how could not anyone be? And well, I've seen a few comments out there saying that I'm not going to say what they are just so I don't offend anyone, but I've seen some comments out there talking shit about the original 1933 King Kong, which is pathetic as it is ridiculous.
Yeah, because it's because I mean, the original movie we even said it in that very first episode. We even said that, hey, you know, the cultural references in that movie didn't age very well, but the rest of the movie is a good fucking movie for as old as it is. You know, it's
90 years old, and it looks, the special effects look 50 times better than anything the MCU has been able to do in Phase 4 and Phase 5. Put it that way.
Yeah, that's especially like with the Willis O'Brien stop motion models, and you look at Peter Jackson's movie here, the CGI in this movie still holds up. I mean, the CG in this movie is damn good.
There are times where, like, even with the scene in the theater, where, you know, where there were characters, you know, near Kong or standing next to Kong, I kept asking my boat here, is that practical effect or is that CGI? Because I can't tell.
I could have sworn that thing that was CGI, because I've not read a single part where they had a practical anything on anything in this movie. Like, anything creature related was all CGI. Like, there was nothing in this movie that was a prop. Like, seriously.
Like, it just amazes me just how realistic it looked, because it looked as though, like, Jack Black was actually standing next to a 25-foot tall gorilla.
Yeah, and he even touches him too. I love the little moment where Carl, like, he repeats the same lines as Robert Armstrong did in the original when it came to introducing Kong and introducing, you know, the stage and everything. I mean, yeah, sure, there was like a few dialogue changes, but there really wasn't that much. And I just love, like, how the audience in that theater was massive. Like, Peter Jackson managed to make that entire audience believe that there is a giant gorilla on that stage.
Oh, yeah.
Like, literally, that audience was huge. And it's so crazy how, and one thing we were talking about, actually, that this movie does a little more that's actually a little more realistic here. I mean, nothing in a creature movie is supposed to be realistic in the first place, but in this movie, there is one bit of realism where Anne is not she's not in the theater with Kong in that scene. She's not in the theater, and Preston told Jack that she said no to every money deal they offered her because, you know, they tortured Kong pretty much to get him to this point, and she wants to keep being involved in that shit. Like, I don't blame her really for saying no. Like, literally, I don't blame her for that.
Really, I mean, I sure as hell wouldn't go up there. Not after what they did to Kong on Skull Island and what they're doing to him now. Like, fuck that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, in the 76 movie and in the 1933 movie, both the lead actresses would go on stage with him right up until he escapes. And in this movie, you know, they made that little bit make more sense where, you know, you're right. Like, he went through all that abuse on Skull Island, and now it's like, yeah, she didn't want to be part of that. But I just love the fact that Carl Denham makes this big... I mean, Carl Denham in this scene becomes, like, the most typical stage showman ever. Like, he says that Bruce Baxter was the guy who hunted Kong down and tried to save Anne and shit, when really it was Jack Driscoll doing it, but Jack Driscoll was off in a smaller theater down the street, watching his play that he wrote for Anne being done before an audience. So you can tell there's like a major time skip between Kong getting to New York and getting everything set up. Like, you can tell there's like a serious time skip going on.
I think on Skull Island as well, when they managed to knock out Kong or knock him unconscious, like, Jack said himself, in a few months his lights will be...
His name would be up in lights on Broadway. So yeah, I think that was the 3-month time skip that he mentioned. So I think they really take that few month thing seriously. But it's so crazy, like, when Kong wakes up, it's so crazy, like, there's this moment where Kong suddenly wakes up when he thinks he sees Anne right in front of him.
He comes back to his senses.
And
like,
then he has this look of disgust on his face when he looks at the woman that they chose. He's like, who the hell are you? And this woman just gets terrified after seeing him when he wakes up, and he starts roaring at everybody like a mofo. And then, you know, of course, the chains were made of chrome steel, but that didn't do shit because Kong wakes up, breaks out, grabs the woman, and then realizes it wasn't Anne, and then yeets her off to one side, and then he just hops in the...
Do you think she was killed when he threw her aside, or just
she was either that or injured, because most of that theater was very, like, it was very posh, so there really wasn't that much shit that would kill somebody, really. There really wasn't that much.
I think she would have just had a few broken bones or something.
Yeah, like a couple of, like, some broken ribs or one of her legs or whatever, but... Then Kong just goes apeshit on the audience. Like, he jumps out of his belt shackle, and then he just starts throwing people everywhere. Like, good God, man, he just starts like
those fucking audience deserved it though. They had it coming. Like, when they were, like, raising his arms when he was still chained up, they were, like, applauding.
They were applauding. That's kind of weird that they were applauding that. That was a very weird... That was kind of off.
I think the true monsters in that theater were the fucking audience who deserved to die, not Kong himself.
Yeah, but it was just so... But then when he sees Jack, I love, like, how he sees Jack and that pisses him off. Like, I love how Jack is the only thing that was really pissing him off. And... and I love, like, how when he busts out of the theater, he busted out of his name. The part of the theater that had his name. I love, like, that's the part that he busts out of. And then he just acts like, you know, where the hell am I? And he's, you know, cars start bashing into him, and he starts backing up into cars and everything, and cars are just hitting each other, because he's like, okay, where the fuck am I? Somebody help me here. And there's a cameo that I was meaning to talk about in this scene. Remember I pointed out there's like this dude with the mustache that I was saying that I was pointing out, that guy?
I think so.
Well, there's a dude in this movie, his name is Bob Burns. He's a film historian who is the current owner of the metal puppet, or the metal armature that was used in the 1933 King Kong movie.
Oh, okay.
So Peter Jackson knows him personally and asked him to make a cameo in the movie. So that the dude with the mustache that you saw, that was him. So there was there was that little tidbit there. And also, you know, Kong's rampage in New York, it's, you know, and I did point this out when we were watching the movie. It's actually cool to see a creature movie. I don't know why, but it's really cool to see a creature movie take place in the wintertime, because the only other movie that I've seen do that was Gamera 2. You don't really see creature movies take place during the winter. So it was very interesting that they had this movie, well, this chunk of it anyway, like, take place during that time of the year.
What I like most about Kong's little rampage through
Times Square.
Is it called Times Square? Yeah, thank you, Times Square. And what I liked about it was very, like, it was almost reminiscent of An American Werewolf in London. You know when David transforms into a werewolf and he breaks out of that porno theater in Piccadilly Circus? And he's just rampaging through Piccadilly Circus, you know.
Oh, and everyone's just running away from him. Yeah, I remember that.
I remember people and cars and motorcycles and buses are crashing into each other.
Yeah, I remember you were saying. That.
Yeah, I might make a comparison post about that later.
And honestly, it actually, honestly, kind of, remember how I was saying, it kind of reminds me of Gorgo as well, because Gorgo rampage through Piccadilly Circus too. Like, when you mentioned Piccadilly Circus, it kind of, that reminded me of Gorgo, because
Oh, she rampaged through the whole entire city.
Yeah, she's just all looking for her kid. Like, she just rampaged. We got off topic, but you mentioned Piccadilly. You mentioned Piccadilly Circus, and it reminded me of Gorgo. And the thing is like, oh, and then Kong sees Jack again, and then that pisses him off, and then Kong means to wreck shit. Like, he was doing it by accident at first, but now he means to cause a little bit of destruction. And then there's a funny moment where Jack drives through an alleyway and Kong chases him through it, but then when he sees the people, you know, he kind of stops for a minute, like, hey, did you guys see it? Yeah. He stops and he looks at him for a moment and just stands there. He has a monkey moment. He stands there, has a monkey moment, and then he chases. Then he goes back to chasing Jack, who, when he catches up to him, one fist flips the cab over and knocks Jack out. Like, he knocked him out like a little too easily. And then the movie turns into a Mighty Joe Young movie after the rampage bit. It literally turns into a Mighty Joe Young movie.
It really changes its mood from, you know, the typical King Kong style to now moving on to a more Mighty Joe Young sort of style.
Yeah, where everything's all calm and Anne shows up and, you know, you just see Kong gently pick her up and just walk down the street. Like, the mood just suddenly, like, just... And I was even saying this when we were watching it, like, did the movie just forget everything Kong did in the last 5 minutes? Like, did the movie literally just forget that?
Yeah, and you said that as well. You said, like, yo, did this movie forget it was supposed to be King Kong, not Mighty Joe Young?
Yeah, I don't know why, like, the whole bit where Kong picks Anne up and walks down the street with her, and it just so reminded me of the 1998 Mighty Joe Young movie, you know, because it's very calming. It's a very calm scene, and then there's the, you know, him on the ice, you know, when he's sliding all over the ice and everything.
Man, that scene, man, it tugs you right in the heartstrings. Like, it gets you emotional before you know what's going to happen.
Exactly. Know? And I remember you were asking, like, how that ice was even holding him up. Like, how that ice was not breaking. With a creature,
like, as big as Kong, who probably weighs something like 5 or 6 tons up at the most.
Yeah, and I was saying...
Yeah,
and I was saying, that one thing I was mentioning when you asked that was, like, because of the fact that Kong is very athletic in this movie, like, he has the athleticism of a chimp. He literally has, on Skull Island, he has the athleticism of a chimp. So he's probably very lightweight. Like, he's a heavyweight, but at the same time, he's probably light because of the fact that he can move so quickly. So that ice was probably like... Or
that ice would have had to have been thick as fuck. Like...
Probably, because you're right, he could easily weigh at least 5 or 6, like, because they said Kong is 20 or 25 feet, which is roughly the size of a T-Rex. So they said T-Rex is like 20 feet high. So, you know, probably 5 or 6 tons for an animal that size.
Or is that at the shoulder?
I think that's at the...
Because when it comes to measuring animals' height, they usually just measure it at the shoulder.
I think that is at the shoulder. They said a Rex is like 20 feet high. Is at least like 20 feet tall.
I think Rex now is only like 12 feet tall, which is still giant.
It is true, but, you know, for an animal as large as Kong, it's just so... You're right, that ice was probably thick as fuck, because how the hell is it able to support 5 or 6 tons of him sliding his ass all over the ice? And like, one thing I do like is the setting. You know, I think they're in Central Park when that happens, because they're surrounded by trees. And there's, like, Christmas lights all over the place. Like, there's Christmas lights and snow. It is a very little heartwarming scene. And then all of a sudden a frickin' bomb hits the frozen water, and then the military, or at least I think that's the military, starts chasing Kong here. You know, it starts...
Yeah, those fucking assholes.
Oh,
this is why I've always hated soldiers in giant movie monsters. It's thanks to Peter Jackson's 2005 remake of King Kong, folks, is the reason why I fucking despise soldiers in giant monster movies.
Oh, because there's like, because they always just, because a lot of the time they always like, they're focused on killing the creatures the whole time.
Yeah, they just show him no mercy, but yeah, they just shoot at him without a second thought, and with Anne in the palm of his hand too. So they could have shot Anne at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Like they didn't. Oh, and then I gotta mention, like the version we watched. I think we mentioned this in episode 1 of this, where the version we watched was the theatrical cut. The extended version we sadly couldn't get. We couldn't find it. There's like one cut in the extended version where there's this soldier making this speech about, you know, how New York City was built for humans, not apes, and that they were gonna show Kong who the real owners of the city are. And then as he's doing the speech, Kong just barrels right through the vehicle. Like he just smashes.
I really hope he killed them all. I really hope he did.
Like he just smashes right through them, which it so sucks that we couldn't see that part in the theatrical version, because it kind of would have been funny. It kind of would have been reminiscent of Deep Blue Sea for someone. It would have been like,
oh yeah, with Samuel L. Jackson.
It could have been very reminiscent of Deep Blue Sea, you know, where somebody's making a great speech and then all of a sudden the creature comes out and just knocks them, just yeet. But anyways, it was so. But is it me, or was Kong's climb to the Empire State Building a little too quick? Like he kept hopping rooftops like Super Monkey. Like literally, he was hopping rooftops like crazy. He's jumping around until all of a sudden, here he goes up the Empire State Building. But
by the time we get back to him, he's like halfway up.
Yeah, exactly. And the one thing I do really like about about Kong 05 here is that, you know, in the 1933 movie, when they show Kong climbing the Empire State Building, they show this wide-angle shot, and they didn't really show him climbing it. Whereas in this movie, they do. Like, you see a close-up of him climbing the Empire State Building until he gets all the way up. And it's so... And you were mentioning this, when he gets to a certain point, like on the needle point of the Empire State Building, there's this thing where you said that it's like, you know, he's taken out of his element, but the way he sits on this one flat piece of the Empire State Building, it kind of looked like a throne, you said?
Yeah, and I said something along the lines of, you know, even though he's no longer on Skull Island, he's still a king, and it's like he's taking New York City as his new kingdom, and what he's sitting on, what he's pressed up against, you know, and he's looking over at the view. You know, it looks like a throne in a way.
It kind of does, and I think that was like the symbolism of it. I think it was supposed to symbolize that. And then, you know, you got Kong having this other beautiful moment with Anne, like they did back on Skull Island at his lair during that sunset bit. And then come the planes, and and then, well, it's so, for those who don't know, those who have seen this movie but never knew this, Peter Jackson actually makes a cameo in one of the planes. I think he's one of the pilots, actually. And then Rick Baker, who needs no introduction whatsoever, but for those who don't know, he played Kong in 1976 and worked on the 1998 Mighty Joe Young movie. You know, and also did Schlock, for those who, you know, wouldn't know that. He was the guy who made the Schlock suit, and John Landis always admits that. No, that's literally the name of the movie. Anyways, Rick Baker, he's one of the machine gunners. So it is cool to see Rick Baker, you know, who has obviously been in a Kong movie, make a cameo in a Kong movie. So it was really cool to see that, but, you know, I mean, the 76, you know, movie getting shot off the World Trade Center, like, that was impactful, but this one is just as impactful, like... Sure, it's not gory.
It is many times more impactful by a long shot.
Well, especially the fact that they drag it out. They literally drag out this death scene. I mean, Kong gets shot up. The thing is that, you know, thank God they didn't show gore like the 76 movie did. Like, in the 76 movie, he was bloodied like no tomorrow. But in this movie, it's like, you know, they're more classy with it. They don't show, they only showed like maybe a couple of bullet wounds and that's it, and then the rest of the time that you don't see any bullet wounds really. When he gets shot, it's very quick. You know, it's very quick, like flybys. Yeah, but
yeah, they don't drag on it. They just, you know, they simplify it. You know, they don't over the top it. You know, they just a few bullet shot and then.
Yeah, but then I do love the shots of Kong when he gets to the very tip of the Empire State Building and he beats his chest and he roars. Like, there, you know, there's nothing like seeing Kong do that in this movie. It looks, honestly, the whole thing is it's a work of art. This whole scene, as depressing as it is a huge.
Oh, the whole movie is a work of art.
The whole movie. True enough it is, and you know. It's so crazy how this entire movie, Kong always has this, like, the only time you really see Kong crack a smile is when he was laughing his ass off on Skull Island. But in this movie, when he smiles, you can actually see him, like, actually, like, smiling when he's not laughing. Because most of the time he has this grumpy old man face the whole time. He has this very sad-looking grumpy old man face, but when he dies, he looks at Anne, and, you know, you can see that. And I just love the fact that he makes sure Anne's safe.
Oh, man, you know what that reminds me of, now that you mentioned that?
What?
It reminds me of Logan.
Oh my god, it does. Oh my god, it kind of does.
Because, you know in Logan, throughout the whole film, you see Wolverine looking nothing but just, like, this miserable,
old man, right?
But when he dies, you know, holding his daughter's hand, when he dies, he smiles, like, for the only time we see in the film.
Yeah, exactly. And in this movie, they honestly do that. And I love that Kong makes sure that Anne doesn't fall off by holding her more, by making sure that she's safe.
I mean, I was trying to hold back my tears as best as I could, but
so was I, trust me. Oh, trust me, dude, so was I. And
you heard me sniffling.
I did. He started, folks. Dude, my boy here, he started, and I wasn't sniffling, but I can feel it coming. It's really sad seeing this thing die. Yeah, it was sad seeing Kong die, and it's just like, the thing that killed him, like, why did they have to shoot him in the back? Like, that was my problem. Like, they shot him up enough. Like, did they really have to get in, like, a few more shots in the back? Like, in the back, really? That was, like, kind of like, that was, I don't know. There was just something about that just like, dude, he's already dying. Do you need to add more insult to injury? Like, damn.
I think it was just to ensure that he does die, or I don't know.
But it's so weird how the way he falls is, you know, they do this slow-mo shot of him just like, he just slips off the building and he just does this slow-mo free fall.
You know, he's just twisting and turning on the way down.
Oh, and then, yeah, and one thing you pointed out was the landing impact. If he like busted his neck or something on the way down, because his head is turned really weird.
His head was like twisted in a really weird position that looked like, you know how you see in like some videos, like movie clips from like different films, how when someone, you know, breaks their neck and their head is on
in a different position.
It's positioned in a way that it doesn't look natural.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Kong's head on this was, yeah, that did not look natural at all. Like, that, his head was twisted, turned in some really weird way. And then, you know, you kind of see, you know, and in all honesty, it kind of, you know, when everyone's taking pictures of him and shit, and then Carl Denham shows up and he says his famous line, you know, it was Beauty Killed the Beast. You know, you see him quickly vanish into the crowd. Like, it's no wonder in Sock that he went into hiding. You know, it's no wonder. And seeing this movie kind of puts Sock in a different perspective a little bit, because, you know, in this movie you just see Carl Denham just like, he just goes in the crowd and he doesn't want to, he's so embarrassed about the whole thing. Like, he's embarrassed about everything he put an entire city through and an entire boat through, an entire ship through. So it's no wonder he goes into hiding. And then, you know, cut to very beautiful end credit music by James Newton Howard.
Now, of all the things we haven't talked about so far, you know, praising everyone, the directors, the actors, you know, people on set who made everything look as real as it did, the designers, the creators of everything.
Yeah.
The one thing we haven't given anyone credit for was James Newton Howard's soundtrack.
Oh, yeah, that's right. His music in this movie is...
James Newton Howard is such an underrated composer.
He is. I'm not going to lie.
It makes me see red, and it boils my blood as to why he doesn't get enough credit. His soundtracks, man, for all the films, some of which are my personal favourite, do not get the credit they deserve.
Yeah,
whenever people talk about their favourite music composers, they often talk about John Williams,
James Horner,
Hans Zimmer,
or James Horner. James Horner's another one. He gets a lot of recognition. Hans Zimmer, he gets a lot of he gets a lot of recognition. Him and John Williams, the two of them.
Yeah, and you know, James Newton Howard, man, he makes some fucking good tunes on his soundtrack for the movies he does, man. I think he even did Disney's Dinosaur from 2000 at one point.
I think he did. I think he did do. I think that was him who did Dinosaur. I believe. I think that was him. I never really looked at.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is him.
Yeah, Disney's Dinosaur. Yeah, the soundtrack for that movie was good, and you know,
that sounds fucking beautiful, man. Just as good as King Kong.
Oh, King Kong 05. Well. Honestly, my favorite song in this entire movie is from James Newton Howard's composing is the Empire State Building scene. I love the music that plays in that. I honestly love that score, like the plane shootout scene.
I've just looked up some of the movies that he's composed for, and like these are some of my favorite films. Like, he's done the Peter Pan remake from 2003. I fucking love that film.
You know what? I've heard that's a good one. Actually, I've never seen it. I've never seen it personally.
It's a good fucking film. It's a good film. You've got to watch it. I would give that film a solid 9 out of 10, honestly. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Where were we?
Yeah. What's your favorite, when it comes to music? What's your favorite, bit in this movie where you really love, the score with the scene?
Oh, no, definitely the part where he fights the V-Rex family.
Oh, the V-Rex fight. Actually, you know what? No, I changed that. The V-Rex fight I agree with that. That is my number one. And then the plane shootout scene's my second one. When it comes to...
I'm with you on that. Yeah, the final... Kong's final stand with the planes. Yeah, that... Even with a lot of the soundtrack, you hear the same repeating tune.
You do, yeah. You hear it. You hear the same. You hear the same thing.
It works well.
Especially the one that. What do you call it's? Oh, and one other thing that we didn't mention is you made a joke that Jack Driscoll probably got arrested after Kong fell off the Empire State Building because, Jack ran through a couple of cops and literally kicked a soldier in the stomach when he was running into the Empire State Building. He literally probably got arrested for assaulting an officer. I don't know why. I just thought it was funny. Oh, and then he just shows up so conveniently. He's got to be. What is he? A mutant? Seriously, he shows up at
Jack just randomly appearing out of nowhere from time to time. Is he secretly part of the X-Men?
Yeah, because what is it, on Skull Island? He managed to get up to Kong's lair to come and save her, and then at the end here, he managed to get up to the top of the Empire State Building. You know what I mean? It's just how the hell did you get up there? How the hell did you get there? How the hell did you get to this place?
How'd you do it, Jackie?
Yeah, exactly. So, overall, like the New York Rampage scene, you know, it's this whole movie overall was it's such it's got Peter Jackson's main trademark on it, you know, with a lot of the it's just the world building is like my favorite attribute of this movie is the world building.
Oh man, this movie's got the best world building and lore to it than any other movie has combined. The thought that went into everything with the speculative evolution, how the tribe made it to the island and how they've become the way they are now, you know, and like with just everything else, like it puts every other movie that tries to, you know, do the same thing to shame.
And also, and Peter Jackson is, you know, the Lord of the Rings movies, you know, with those movies, he does the same things in those that he does in King Kong. He literally did everything he did in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. He carried that filmmaking style over to King Kong here, and he just, you know, got a chance to do his big dream. Like, this was his dream movie. Like, Lord of the Rings was just like him saying, I can do some good shit. King Kong is his, you know I can do some good shit, can I make my fucking movie, please? Like, literally, it was...
And they said, actually, I think they contacted him again, because, you know, with how good the Lord of the Rings trilogy was.
Yeah, especially with the fact that Return of...
Like,
yeah,
do you want to come back and do you want to come back and do it again this time?
And of course, Peter Jackson would jump on, especially with the fact that Return of the King.
He jumped on the opportunity. He wouldn't dare say no.
Yeah, exactly, and also the fact that Return of the King literally won the Academy Award at that time in every single fucking category. So of course, you know, Universal would call his ass up and say, "Do you want to do this? Do you want to try your hand at this again?" And he pulled it off in a very emotional, impactful, lore-filled. You know, world-building, tribute-filled, reference-filled movie. And I honestly give this movie a straight-up 10. This movie gets a perfect 10 out of 10 for me. Like, seriously. Peter Jackson he did...
Oh, solid 10 out of 10 for sure.
Yeah, he did
I
great...
I couldn't care less what anyone says. You know what? If you have anything to say negatively about this movie, then fuck you. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I want to be as straightforward as possible and upfront as possible. Fuck you if you dislike this movie. It's a solid 10 out of 10 film. Yeah,
and also everything we've said, and you know, there's just, and I probably need to add more, you know, more context to this because of I said this in another episode of Kongathon here. You know, the world is missing people stating their opinions nowadays, and every Kong movie, every solo Kong movie that we've talked about here, up to this point, you know, it's my bro and I's opinions on each movie as Kong's franchise goes along here. So, you know, this movie, a lot of people have said that, you know, the bit with like, there's a big chunk of part one that didn't need to be in this movie, and then there's like, well, the part of Skull Island, there's nothing that needed to be taken out. And then this movie, I don't think there's nothing. There's just so much that, you know, I can't really see anyone, like, removing it or anything. Well, except that bit you told me, there was a deleted scene where, you know, before they get to Skull Island, where Carl tells Jack that he got the map to Skull Island from a Norwegian skipper, which was a Son of Kong reference, which really sucks that they didn't leave that in the movie, you know, but still, I mean, the movie, just as it is now, the theatrical version, it's still a great fucking movie. Like, this is still an amazing movie, and Peter Jackson, I don't know if you, I'm pretty sure movie directors watch fans, you know, review their movies all of the time. I'm pretty sure directors do at some point in time. And Peter Jackson, if you ever watch this, please,
well done, man. Well done.
Please,
I applaud you.
Please do Sock. Please do Son of Kong. Please don't make it an April Fool's joke this time. Please do it. Please make Sock. Please, for the love of God.
I haven't seen anything come from Peter Jackson in a long time. So, Peter Jackson, I implore you, please come back to do a Son of Kong. Like, please.
Please do Son of Kong. And also, it's like since this movie, he's gone on to produce movies. Like, he produced District 9, which is another great movie. Yeah, Peter Jackson was the producer on that movie, so, you know, he may not...
I don't wonder why it was so good.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it may not have been directed by him, but he produced it, and producers have a heavy hand in what goes on in movies. So,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so that was like the last thing I ever heard of from him, actually. Anyone's ever seen with his hand in it.
Is he retired? He's not retired, is he?
I don't think he's ever been retired, but Peter Jackson, like my bro was saying here, I do applaud you. You took a movie that you took a old black and white movie that is hailed as one of the best movies ever made, and you expanded the absolute, and I mean this in a good way, you expanded the absolute living shit out of it and turned it into something that is very, you know, emotional, just very, you know, you turned it into something that is always worth watching. I mean, people who have not seen this movie, y'all gotta do yourself a favor and watch this movie. Like, seriously.
Do yourselves a solid and watch this movie. Because it is, oh man, it's my favourite film. And if you watch it, you'll understand why.
Exactly. So, straight up, 10 out of 10, everything about it is just downright. And if you guys noticed this time, I didn't point out anything irrelevant. I know I said I was gonna make that a running gag, but this time I didn't because there was nothing irrelevant to really talk about, to be perfectly honest with you.
Alright, are we done? Is this over and done with?
Yep, this, finally, folks, we have gotten through Kong 05. I mean, it's a 3-part movie, so it makes sense for us to do it in 3 chunks like this.
And it was easier for us on our behalf, you know, to get it done separately.
If we would have done this in one go, this would have been like a 3-hour video. If we would have talked, this review would have been as long as the movie.
Yeah,
the review would have been as totally long as the movie. So, we hope you guys enjoyed our 3-part review of King Kong 2005. And so, please be sure to follow my boy Jurassic World Monsterverse 2 on Instagram. The link to that will be in the description below. And then come follow me at LizardMan2021. The link to that is up on the banner, on the bottom right corner of my banner. And then also, please be sure to like, share, and consider subscribing. You know, I really do appreciate all the support you guys give, not only my channel, but to our Instagrams as well.
Oh, definitely, absolutely, and I wholeheartedly mean that. It's meant so much to me, and it's just moved me so much. Like, I'm at a loss for words, really.
Yeah, exactly. So, what do you call? So, this is Tim W. Tim W. Rago, and
Jurassic World Monsterverse 2.
And we will see you in the next time in the final episode of Kongathon.
The Kong Skull Island. Peace out, guys.
Peace out, everybody.